Welcome back to Let's Get At It. Today, I'm hosting co-founder Alex Stern, and we'll be interviewing your usual host, Drew Ruchim, and learn about everything he's about. Co-founder of Aditt, founder of Ruchim Tees, captain of the club baseball team, and home run hitter in the College World Series. Drew, welcome to your own podcast today.
Thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's cool to be in this seat.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think the people, they want to know what you're about. Great question asker, great host, great at making people feel comfortable, but I think they want to know your story. So I'm really excited to dive into it today, and everyone gets to see the depths of Drew Ruchim.
Yeah, I'm excited to share my values and instill my stories into the people listening.
Let's go.
All right.
So let's kick it off here. You've heard quite a few answers for this question, but what's your answer? If you had $50K and you had 60 days to turn into $1 million, how are you going about that?
It's a good question. I like when the people who are the guests take their business and then they put it into words. So it's like if you got a 50K influx, almost like a no sweat bet, how would you go out and you spend that? Because we currently have the assets to go and do that. But let's say you just had the 50K, you're supposed to spend it, you lose it, there's no risk involved. So in an added sense, I think about how can we market ourselves with this 50K to both sides of the marketplace to where in 60 days time, we could get either 1 million advertisers / brands paying $1, 100,000 brands paying $10, 1,000 brands paying $100, or 100 brands paying $1,000, which is probably the most easy way to go about this, just on average. I think that the best way to go about this is to really just go a guerrilla warfare on influencer marketing. You start paying top influencers at, call it, let's say 5 of the biggest schools. Okay. You do this to get users getting a ton of hype, because I really do think that our app has the wildfire potential where the second that it hits a tree and it's dry, it can hit everybody. And when the users are buzzing about this, it's a word of mouth game. Now, people who are users are talking about it to the advertiser. So the other money, call it the other 25K, I would spend full force into something that has to do with bringing in these brands. And I don't know if that's maybe traveling with this 25K to talk to these right people, if it's somehow booking meetings with the right individuals, but these agencies, the agency model is huge. And I think if you want to get 100 people paying $1,000, let's say each agency has an average of 5 people, you need 20 agencies to have that $1,000 spread throughout their five companies. And I really do think that if we had, call it 8,000 users, we could really get that. But right now we have 8,000. So I would try and run that number up from 8,000 downloads to 50,000. And then you see where that takes you. And I think pressure is key. You just, every single day, you probably push a little harder. I mean, you probably get close.
Yeah, totally. Very interesting. So you would take that money,
Give me 50K.
You'd really focus on the marketing side of things.
Yeah.
Because, one of our founding principles of this whole idea is where attention goes, money flows.
Yeah.
And by going into the user marketing, we'd bring those users onto the platform, and that would inevitably bring the brands onto the platform, because the brands just love going where the eyeballs already are. And if we're able to filter by age and gender and get those demographics, brands would love that. And so I like that setup, both on the user marketing side. I think that'll be something we'll probably tap into pretty soon.
Yeah. Look, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Where attention goes, money flows. But in this idea, it's where our money goes, attention will also flow. So it's a two-sided street here where we don't really know if we have the 50K right now. We're those like, this is it. This is the influencer. This is who you hit it up. But we'd have the idea. We'd kind of be guessing with this 50. Like if we had the answers, we'd already hit that. But the real answer that I like to hear about this is, if you want to try and build something in 60 days, you are like the infrastructure piece, like time is money. Like we can't go out and build something in the first week or two to try and then build that, right? Like sure, try and make like an e-commerce product that has a luxurious item, and that's how you can do that. But like we've already spent 2 years plus building at it. Trust the infrastructure that we've built and then try and scale and market the shit out of it. It's self-serve on both sides. And so, you just see where demand takes it.
Yeah. Time's super challenging because you really have to give it the time to build. give it the time to experiment, give it the time to react and learn and grow from there. Talk a little bit about like time throughout this process. How has it been handling those expectations and really managing the time that things take throughout this Aditt journey?
Great segue there. Really professional.
I've been listening to this host a lot. He
Yeah,
does a
look,
good job.
it's hard. It's harder than you think, but because you want to listen and you want to give your response. Anyhow, as it relates to time, I think that the best way I can look at time is you got to use time as the weapon there. And let me explain. So in the first 2 months, a week feels like an eternity, right? It's such a large chunk of 30 days. 7 days of 30 is, practically what, 30% of that, 25%, something around there. And when you put a week now in the span of 2 years, now you're taking 7 divided by 700 pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Like you are talking about decimals in terms of the magnitude of the day to day.
The relativity.
The relativity, Einstein here. But the biggest thing for me was really being able to swallow that pill. With Ruchim Teas, it was not like how can I bring in money? Or what is this going to be in a year? The goal there wasn't anything. It was just kind of me running around with my head chopped off and just handing out t-shirts, maybe selling some here and there, probably breaking even, maybe even losing a little bit of money, having fun in the process. But once you're doing a real business and you're trying to sustain yourself, you're trying to build a brand, like it wears and it tears on you, but it also builds you up because now in the grand scheme, we began this in, December of 23 for Aditt. We began our entrepreneurial path since probably around July, I'd say, of 23. And since then, every single day becomes more of a decimal and more of a microcosm of the grand scheme that is our entrepreneurial journey. So it's really hard to deal with failure at the very beginning. It's really hard to not see the success, but you almost become numb to it over time. It's not that you don't expect it. It's that you just realize
It's like a delayed gratification.
yeah,
And that's really interesting you bring up Ruchim Teas there. We'll get into Ruchim Teas, the full story later on. But with Ruchim Teas, you were thrown right into the mix. And there's no like sales goal or destination goal. It was like, I got this cool thing going on. I'm gonna see how it plays out. And that like kept you very present in that moment versus at it, it's like, okay, we have to build this whole business and that's gonna take time. And we know that, okay, we have an idea now, but we might not be in the app store for a year. What do you think about that difference?
started a brand by accident. I think that people sometimes try and build a brand over years. And I'm not saying that I had the answers. I'm just saying I had no idea what the brand was. Someone's like, "Well, what's your why?" What the hell is a why? I don't know.
Yeah.
I had a shirt. People wanted it
Let's give the rundown there.
for the Ruchim
Yeah, let's
Teas.
talk about how it came about.
So I
It's a
had
great story.
Yeah. So my dad is a total schmoozer like myself, and he does a barter exchange as a lawyer, where sure, you bill call it $300 an hour, and when it adds up, it's like I don't know how it comes out, but it's like, hey, you provide this service, it costs this much. How about we charge this much, and you also give me like 100 t-shirts for my family. And my dad's just such a personable guy in that sense, where he just wanted to have some merchandise for our family. And this was maybe around the time I was born, if not beforehand. So when I'm going to college, second semester, my sophomore year, maybe even first semester, I see a Ruchim tee, kind of looks something like this, but a little bit more vintage, honestly. And then I bring it. Some guys see it. They think it looks cool. It's sleek. It's white. It's blue. It's got my name on it. It's just a cool word, right? Like you see it, you don't really know what it means. But if you do know what it means, you kind of know what it means. And people like that. So I had a couple of guys that gauged some interest. So I had my mom make 25. So I come back from Cancun with the boys. There's a box of 25 Ruchim tees. I open it up, hot off the press, start handing them out like it's hotcakes. And the next thing you know, the 26th and 27th guy is like, yo, like, where
Yeah.
where the hell's my shirt? So I'm like, all right, let me call my assistant. Hey, mom, can we get more of those shirts? That happened about 2 more times until she was like, hey, I'm not just going to make you guys more shirts. Like, you can start charging people for this. And
Yeah.
then I was like,
Little business.
I guess I could start charging people for this. But as you know, I'm not like, I don't really like to take money in this regard. It does not make me the best entrepreneur in that sense. I do everything pretty much without money. I just kind of anticipated just kind of coming in a lump sum period of time just from like all your hard work and aspirations coming at once. But next thing you know, we added to our merch shop. I
Well,
make an Instagram.
you wanna feel like people are really getting the value out of what you're providing. You know, you don't wanna charge someone something and then have them be upset. You want them to experience it, know they like it, know they want that shirt, see the other friends have it, demo at it and see what it's about. And then you're like, "You love it and you willingly want to do this? Great. I'm happy to have you."
Really interesting you bring up the current situation we have because it's a much easier pill for me to swallow. And I'm a much better, I wouldn't just say salesman, I'm just a much better entrepreneur when I'm selling something I believe. Look, Aditt, I believe, is very valuable, but we can't say we have tangible evidence that what we're going to do is going to provide you with this much ROAS or this better decision
You
making.
want people to find their own
I want to
tangible
give them a shirt
evidence.
and I want them to come back and buy five.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd much rather that be instead of like maybe buying one, seeing if they
Because
like it.
that builds the trust.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, what we found is it gets people in the door because of the time and the money commitment. They're able to just, you know what, just try it out. See what it's like. Wear the shirt. If you like the shirt, I got a hoodie, I got a beanie.
Yeah.
You can get the whole package.
And
But just
then,
try the
yeah.
shirt and see if you like it. See if, you know, people compliment you on the Ruchim brand. If they're like, holy shit, you know Drew Ruchim? I know Drew Ruchim. They bond over that. When I was abroad, I met a group of girls from Illinois that knew who Ruchim Tees was
That's unreal.
because their home friend is your home friend. And then right there, I'm like, oh, I went to Michigan. And like Drew Ruchim of Ruchim Tees. And now I was like, yeah, I have Ruchim Tee. They didn't. They were jealous. They wanted a Ruchim Tee. But that brought people together. That's what I think Ruchim's all about.
Hey, I appreciate that. One thing I will say, Rockham teas, they're sure you could probably produce these as very easily. I don't have copyright or patent. Please don't go and create these. But there's value behind it.
Maybe you should trademark it.
There's a finite amount. Yeah, I would like to trademark it.
Soon.
Say Steven Samlin, what's up?
Yeah, soon.
But the process of building that taught me that I don't want to work and exchange my time for money. And that was not something I knew at the time. That was something I read. And I'm like, oh yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad. This is, one of the first financial books that you read. But it all came at once, right? Like your journey does not happen for an accident. And this didn't happen when I was a sophomore in high school. It didn't happen as a freshman in college. It happened as a sophomore in college when I began my journey. And once I started picking up steam with this, I start realizing that I want to take control of my life a little bit. I want to read some books. I want to become my best self. I realized and saw that I had potential myself. I had potential, Rana. I knew that I had it in me. And I realized when I would go help my brother out when he would need anything at his office, or when I would just do anything that I wasn't passionate about, like taking the LSAT, not the LSAT, well, the LSAT and the SAT, just standardized tests. I was so average, but I wasn't like average in terms of my intelligence. I thought I underperformed.
But everybody knew you were built different in those certain fields you're good at. Like you're hosting all the fraternity events, like with the microphone, emceeing, doing all that stuff, bringing all the people together, social chair. And they're like you're the best. And then you go and take a standardized test and you're like, this isn't telling me I'm the best. So like, why would I want to do it?
Yeah. I just didn't like the way that it like put me on a scale. I don't like being able, you can't really measure some things. Like, yeah, like when you're trying to measure school and grades and admissions, sure, take something like that. I think that's a perfect place for it. But you try and, put me there. I always like to say it, Phil Jackson, like you can't really put a saddle on a Mustang, like you got to let him just run. And there are times where I would just feel like I'm boxed like a fish. I don't want to take these exams.
Yeah. So all this Ruchim Tees, this was developing sophomore year of school. And then you went into junior year. Junior year, it's kind of like start figuring out what life's going to be about. And you were very set on becoming a lawyer and going to law school. And you were even studying for that LSAT junior year summer after junior year. So this started in sophomore year, you're getting this inkling. And then junior year, you're taking the law courses and getting ready for that whole law school path that you have all mapped out,
right?
so you got the both feelings, both sides of the spectrum. What was the realization that made you be like, I want to go all in on this instead of that? What was that feeling inside of you that you had to listen to?
It's a good question because I don't think I came from me as much as it came from what I saw. And Kyle was my biggest role model, still is. Everything he does, I've tried to emulate in my own font. And I just noticed how exceptional he was when he was passionate about a path, especially in baseball. And then I noticed how that passion just was not even in the picture. It was completely erased. Not even in law school, he loved it. He dominated in law school. But the second that he was in a structure that he didn't jive with, just like
It's like
so
draining.
it just beat his soul down
Yeah.
every single day.
Energy draining instead of energy filling.
And I didn't like that. I didn't like the way it made him feel. And I didn't like the energy that I felt when I'd go work there.
Interesting.
I just wanted to do something that was like my baseball, right? I was always chasing this high. I at least knew what it was that I loved and or what that feels like. Like when I wanted to be great at baseball, I knew what I need to do.
And practicing didn't feel
Practice.
like studying for the LSAT.
No, practicing for golf for me is
Even
like,
if it was a hard ass workout
yeah.
and you're gassed halfway through, you're like, I want to do this and power through because it'll be good for baseball for the long term.
I remember in high school, I go to these workouts and these would be on like a Monday, a Wednesday after school, or on Saturday morning. And like, I just remember it's like December. I don't play a game. First pitch isn't for another 100 days. And I'm thinking about different teams, like as I get into a deep squat or into something else. And that was a fire that like you can't
Yeah.
replicate elsewhere. It felt like I was doing something with a purpose
Yeah.
and I wanted to do that again. And I didn't feel like I was going to grab that from the law path. And then again, I think law, you can be very purposeful. You definitely help people's lives. Wasn't for me.
Yeah. You got to really feel that path for yourself. Like you got to choose like my sister Ellie, she chose law. She's like, this is what I want to do. And she comes in with so much passion and purpose that she's able to succeed on repeat.
Exceptional
And
at it.
it's so impressive when you back that drive with purpose, then you just excel to a new height. Versus if it's like you don't really care for it, you're just never gonna give it your all.
I think about it like a battery, right? You don't have that extra gear that you can tap into when you need that extra recharge. It's the discipline and the motivation that comes with it.
Yeah.
Where if you don't have that passion, you're not going to have any reserves. You got to give yourself the reserves because the reserves are like, you're not running on fumes anymore.
Yeah. And it goes, I like the battery analogy because if you're doing something that feels fulfilling and feels purposeful, it's like using your phone with it charged all the time. Like with it plugged in. Like if you use your phone when it's plugged in, you're not losing any battery. But if you're doing something that you don't want to do, then you're gonna have your phone out of the charger and eventually it's gonna lose battery. And then you gotta what are you doing that charges you up? Then you have to find other things that charge you up. Maybe it's like a hobby or something.
Maybe that's why they call it being plugged in.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So I like this theme here because we started off, we talked about the 50K to a million. We were talking about marketing, is very marketing focused. Ruchim Teas was a total marketing uh business, totally centered around marketing. And this really started your entrepreneurial path. One of the main things on the Let's Get At It podcast, when we talk to founders, talk to them about their entrepreneurial path, we find out how they get at it each day. So, Drew, why don't you tell us how you get at it?
Good question. I love that question. Really relates to the ethos of this podcast and of the business. That's why I really like that word at it.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, you got to, like, I always try and look at it now when you talk about the time aspect. How can I win every day? How can I get that 1% better, that 1.01 to the 365th, so that I can get 37 times better by the end of this year? And it's difficult to just try and do it over the span of weeks or months, but it's simple things. It's also being a little bit vague in it. Sometimes I really specify, like, work out my legs. Now it's just exercise, and I'll let my body and my mind fulfill whatever goal that is. I know I'm going to exercise every single day. I will never have a day where I sit on the couch and I don't move my body. It could be as simple as a walk. It could be as strenuous as a workout that has cardio involved. I just really love to be able to do a couple of things. Fulfill my spiritual battery. That's as simple as journaling, praying, meditating. Those are the necessities. That's the foundation. If I can fully enrich that, I will have the reserves for the rest of the day. That's why I have a slow morning. I think that's huge for me because I'm not a morning guy. I mean, I could wake up in the morning, but I like the end of the day. My body, for some reason, everything's clear. It's like an ocean that's all nice and still. And I like to just keep it as still as possible.
It's like your silent time,
Yeah. I don't think
time with yourself.
exactly. Eating the whole day is just gonna make you gassed the next day. And I
Yeah.
used to sprint Mondays and sprint Tuesdays and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. I'm like, I'm gassed. I don't know what to do. Enjoy it. Run. Don't run at a 6:30 pace and try and run a mile and a half. Run at an 8 pace. Go for 5 miles. Like it might take you a little longer. It's just different. You're gonna get farther,
Yeah.
So funny to that point, like I used to, when I would run, I'd run fast and I'd run 2 miles. I'd run like I'd run 2.2 miles the lap around my house in like 16 minutes. And I'm gassed. Like I could never take another step after that. And now when I run, it's like I can run a mile. I can run, 2.5 here. Maybe I can run half here. So I guess the long drawn out answer to how I get at it is just assessing what I need to get done on the day to day. Here are my goals. Write these down. Like I want 3 things: post 2 times a day, edit a podcast clip, have a great energy on the calls that I've booked over the course of this past week. Be my best self, be my best teammate. And now there's just so many givens though. Like I don't have to remind myself of how I want to communicate with somebody like you. It's a given. Like I'm going to be there to listen. I know what you want to do. You know what I want to something that is misaligned, we talk about it. There isn't like something I constantly need to be focusing on. But yesterday I wrote focus on controllables. Okay, development, legal, everything outside of our control, we can't focus on. But what I can focus on, somebody I talked to back in August. Let me reach back out to them. How can I
Yeah.
how can I attack these calls today so that we can be best set up for next week?
Yeah, I love that answer, Drew. And, I've seen the journal, I've seen the goals for the day listed out. I love how you're very specific with those goals because it really guides you through that day. There's a lot out there about manifestation, and people really think about it on a big scale, like manifesting that like big career or, their dream woman and big, big scale things. But if you take what you do on the day to day with the goals, you're essentially doing a mini manifestation. You're thinking about the actions you need to take, and then you're taking the actions that a person who would complete all those tasks at the end of the day would do. And the action is completing those tasks.
Yeah.
And so it's really taking what's big and bringing it into what's manageable, what you can control today. And I love that. I think that that's a wonderful strategy. How do you zoom out of the day to use the daily manifestation to paint the big picture of the long-term manifestation?
It's a great question, and funny you bring that up because Elle actually wrote something for her class. It was kind of off of what we worked on in terms of like the reflection.
You didn't cry though.
I didn't break any tears there. No, maybe if Elle was a little bit more drawn out, maybe a little more dramatic.
Tears fell. You didn't
Tears,
cry, but tears fell.
they were definitely,
Tears swelled.
yeah, they've swelled. Activation of tears occurred. But it was about this long-term manifestation, and it began with saying, like, the day is November 22nd, 2029. And, like, I already knew where this was going. It was gonna be Elle reflecting on coming home for Thanksgiving holidays, you know, and that's my birthday. Like, Elle chooses a date of all dates, and she chooses my date, the date that brings the people together. And, it's about how Thanksgiving is there and how Alex's family has now come for the past 7
So
years.
fitting for your personality that your birthday is right around Thanksgiving.
I love it. It's my favorite
The whole
holiday.
thing's bringing the people together.
It's really my favorite period of time because there are some people that are like, on my birthday, I want to be alone. On my birthday, I want certain people there. But like on my birthday, I want my whole entire family to be there, but I don't want them to come for me. I want them to come for the holiday. It's like Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah or Thanksgiving, like one of those holidays that just is great to have people there eating food, watching sports. It's just awesome. So Elle talked about that at length in this longer manifestation long term. And I'm like, man, maybe I should do a little free write where I talk about 2029 and what that looks like because it is hard. This morning, I talked about it to myself. I'm like, I'm so rich. I can't believe how wealthy I am. There's so much money that keeps coming into my pocket. I don't know what to do with it. Right? Like I'm like, I've legitimately tricked myself into being so abundant to where I don't know what that's going to entail, honestly. Almost like,
It's hard because you have the Ruchim T mindset where it's I'm present, I'm just making the decision of what today is, and I'll see where it takes us. It's hard to really plan that full future out there, know what's going to happen. You can only just like think of it.
here's what I will say. I definitely have a lot of constant variables that I know will remain constant in the future. I know that we will remain business partners. I know our team's going to get bigger, and I'm very excited for that. But we are going to still be business partners. I know
Be
Julia
at the top.
will be at the top. I know Julia will also be by my side, hopefully next to me, not constantly in a long distance. I see you there, you see me here. And then I just know that I want to I want to be in an environment around family in warm weather. And it's still vague, but these are variables that I know I put into my control. My life has been centered around these very things. We're living together, working together, having a
Yeah, you talk
podcast.
about that in 2029, but
Do it now.
you're doing it now.
That's the thing though, like, it's hard for me to have foresight over things that I want to have happen when I've been so ingrained in thinking I'm just gonna go make that happen now. I
Yeah.
don't wanna go think, "Oh, but at that time I'll be, living in this house and having these kids." I don't know. I want a ton of
It's
kids.
interesting because you can take the goal of like, we wanna get to here, we want this to happen, that to happen, but it really comes down to how you get at it. It comes down to your daily goals because those goals are all doing things to set up your life. It's just the things that you're able to do today.
Yeah.
You can't hit a home run till the season starts. We can go to batting practice. You can start eating better. You can read a book about the mental side of baseball. Like you can do things today that can get you there later on, but you can't hit a home run today if you don't have a game.
It's very true. And that's a really harsh reality you have to face as an athlete. That's why I love golf because you can go to the range and it feels like you're playing the best.
Yeah.
But man, it's sometimes so challenging to separate the tangible reward that you're striving for to the day-to-day grind
Yeah.
that is not does not have any there's nothing glamorous about that at all.
It's that trust and faith in that daily checklist and how that'll set you up for a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now.
Totally.
So let's talk about that a little bit. That trust and faith in the schedule. What governs your soul? What really drives you? How do you work today with that in mind, knowing having that faith of what's going to play out?
I believe in God, plain and simple, a monotheistic, infinite power, infinite energy that can be personified as Jesus, as God, as Hashem, as the universe. There is one God. That's what I believe. And he legitimately governs everything. And because he created us, I believe that we are a part of him. So there is a piece of us in everything, and there is a piece of everything in us. Pretty
It's
crazy.
interesting, right? Like
It's not
like
interesting. It's the most fascinating thing in the world.
God created the world, but like someone created this chair that we're sitting on.
Yeah.
So then God worked through that person
To have us give us a seat.
to create that chair to provide value to others so they could sit.
It's really massive and infinite for us to even wrap our head around it. But the way in which I guess, stay grounded in something so infinite is just being able to know that if I do the right things on the day to day, for me, for God, for everything, I know that it's going to work out.
Stock goes up.
Stock's just going to go up, plain and simple. Like there's no chance. First off, they can't win until we quit. Like there's no chance of failure unless you just completely remove yourself and unplug the outlet in the game. If you stay in the game and you lose, you are still better off than quitting. There's the ability to lose is the best thing you could possibly do. Go talk to that girl. If she turns you down, It's better than not talking to that girl at all. Go have that phone call with that guy because if he didn't respond to you, you still had a chance. You give yourself that opportunity. I love to talk to random people. I like to just, I don't know, see what the matrix is up with.
If you just keep pushing, you keep mining into the ground, you only lose if you stop when you don't find anything. But if you just keep going, and then one day you eventually find something.
Right? It's that awesome meme of the guy just mining the diamonds, and
Yeah.
you guys gotta keep mining. I've played Minecraft long enough to know, like, there are diamonds on every map. Sometimes you find it right away, sometimes you find it after a long time, but usually once you find it a couple times, you're like, "Oh, yeah, I can find these pretty easily," and then it just comes. Like, it's hard to go from 0 to 1 in that mentality. However, once you have that first one, you've seen it, you know how to do it.
Yeah.
For me, like,
It's like breaking 80 in golf.
it was like hitting a home run for me, which is all
Yeah.
I wanted to ever do, and then my sophomore year, I hit one, and I was like, "I can do this."
Yeah, and then it's like everyone talks about getting over the hump, and
And that's the hump. That's the best part, though.
yeah.
And then you look back post hump of the pre hump pause, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
that was a sick journey.
And you're like, "I'm so glad that I stuck with it and got over the hump."
Yeah. You talk about juxtaposition, and I told this to Julia, congrats on the bomb last night. That was a nuke. If you're able to get pushed down and beaten down to here, you're able to then get up here. The floor can't be here and the ceiling be up here. You got to have the ability to get down here. That's the scariest team. That's the scariest person. Somebody with nothing to lose who doesn't care how far down they go. It was like Timothy
Totally.
Chalamet in that new movie. It's like he just doesn't matter what happens. He's got his goal. He's gonna get there.
Yeah. A
Chills.
and I think the hardest part is for anyone doing anything is pre-hump. Pre getting over the hump, it's you can get stuck, you can get beaten down, you can see no internal success, no external validation, and you just have to stick with that belief that you're gonna get there. And that's where that faith comes
Faith
in.
and hope starts with hope.
Starts with faith and hope. Something about you that I love is you are so optimistic. Almost like always optimistic, where sometimes I'm like, "Dude, like, touch earth, like, reality check, bro. Like, this is, like, careless optimism here. Like, yeah, it's gonna work out." I'm like, "Alright, yeah, it is gonna work out." But what's interesting, what I noticed with you is you really like to frame things and decide on the most optimistic scenario to then, like, adapt to that belief. So talk to me a little bit about how you set your mind with that optimistic belief, why you do that, and why that's so important on driving you to move forward and giving you that faith and hope.
You say set your mind, and it's funny because that's just what mindset is at its fundamentals, right? Like have a good mindset is just setting your mind to the settings that you want. And I didn't realize that you could change the settings for 21 years of my life. I'm not saying it's like some guru that has the answers. I'm just saying that was a big time aha moment. And I was like, shit, I don't have to be sad and emotional all the time. Like if something bad
You have
happens, I
choice.
have choice. And the choice to not rely on the external, which is stoicism, was the number one thing that I began with. I read meditations.
First book.
That was massive for me. Your first book is a massive thing. Like I sure I read books in elementary school and whatever, but like my first book,
It's
extracurricular
the
that
book you
I
choose to read.
chose to read it.
The book that you're like, "This is something I feel like I need to learn right now."
The book that God told me to read, Edon Klyer, I just make a friend. Well, everyone else is abroad. We're at the gym. He's like, I'm starting this book. I think you'll really love it. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll read. I already read plenty for my classes. I'm in poli sci. And next thing I know, I love it. But I'm not reading it like I didn't go through it in a day. I read like a page and a half a day and I annotate the shit out of it. But the point was, I started to realize that if I frame things a certain way, my mind gets set to that way. And if you set it internally, external happens the same. You will not get what you want and you desire if you don't genuinely believe that. And that's why I guess the shtick that I go with right now is like, you don't have to do anything. You get to do things. And it's completely true. When we went into the weight room down here, when we first moved in and we saw that they had a sauna, We had no idea they had a sauna,
Yeah,
but they had one, and we were so excited. It was the fact that we had no expectation, and then that no expectation got surpassed by what was there. And I think we overlook the simplicity things. I can walk, I can eat, I can talk, I have friends, I'm in the sun. Everything else is a bonus. I don't care if a phone call goes poorly, or if somebody doesn't believe in the vision, or if we meet someone and they weren't that nice to me, or I got a haircut and it was a little too tight, even though I got a really good one the other day. It's all about choosing what you want to see. I mean, if you want to talk about that golf match we had, you hit a shot that maybe isn't ideal. You don't stick it next to the pin, but you genuinely do not know if it's a good or a bad thing until you just see it through.
it's true. It's very true. And yeah, I think like you do such an excellent job of holding to that mindset of choosing, this is how I want to go about my life. This is what I want to do in the day to day. This is where I want to go. And you're like, nothing's gonna get in the way of that. Things are gonna happen, and I'm just gonna learn from those things. So, what do you do when the thoughts come in that are like those reality check thoughts? Look at the statistics, look at the probability. Things that a lot of people have big dreams for themselves, but sometimes these reality check thoughts can get in the way of that and convince them to do one thing, sometimes based on fear, or do another thing rather than choose what they want, do what they want, and so on.
A lot of people base their decisions off of the chance of failure, right? They calculate the probabilities of it. I know you're a thinker. I know that you see the board. You see it much clearer than I do. But sometimes ignorance is bliss in that sense. And the the ability to remove fear from everything. I believe in the law of polarity. There's laws of the universes, and this is from The Alchemist. Shout out Marcus. The law of polarity states it's just like chemistry with heat. I remember I learned this sophomore year of high school. There's no such thing as cold. It is just heat and an absence of it. Therefore, there's no such thing as fear. There's an absence of courage. So that means that fear is fake. Whether you want to argue that or not, that's my belief. It makes me numb to the fact that fear is not a thing. Fear is a word. The same way that depression is the absence of happiness. Okay. And if you want to get to a point, myself included, where you want to remove fear from your life, you have to realize that it's not about having less fear, it's about having more courage.
Yeah.
When I tell,
Recognizing this is a fear framing. What's the courageous framing of the same thing?
yeah, well said. If I tell you don't think about pink elephants, there it is, pink elephants, right?
Yeah.
Don't think about the water. Don't hit in the water. Don't think about what you can say that's bad.
Right. You can don't think about hitting it in the water. That's the fear thought. What's the courageous thought?
I see a little opening
I
just
see
over the
my
sand
line
trap.
right over the fairway. I'm gonna drive it right down there.
Look, and the cool thing is that I believe
They're the same thing.
they're the
You're
same
still
thing.
trying to avoid the
The
water.
same thing.
You still don't want to go in the water. You're still trying to avoid the water. You don't want to hit a bad shot. You don't want the penalty.
Exactly.
But
It's straight. It's the same shit.
you're framing it in a courageous way, which just gives you a better chance of succeeding.
The cool part is
You might still hit in the water.
you might still hit in the water, and you're going to. I've hit plenty of balls in the
But
water.
if you hit 14 shots, you might only put one in the water versus 3 or 4.
And the best part about it, I believe, is the ability to bounce back from hitting it in the water. Like nothing changes. You're still going to say the next time, I'm going to aim at the tree. I'm not going to aim right of the water here. You just can't put failure into your mind. You can't let it enter your consciousness, as Marty Supreme said in that viral clip. And it's true. You cannot, there's no world in which Aditt does not succeed to a massive scale. I don't think anybody realizes like how massive we believe this thing's going to be. And it's delusional if you want to really believe that. It hasn't gotten there yet.
But that's where everything has to start like that. If it was set in stone what the time scale was, this will be huge, but it will take, X amount of years. And then it's like it's the long-term gratification versus the short-term gratification.
Yeah.
If it's long term, you have to let it play out. You have to give it that time and space, give it that patience. And that just gives more time for thought. It's like when you're playing, like I notice when I play basketball, there's no thought of any type of fear because it's just so fast paced. Don't even have any time to think. Got to just do it. Got to act. Got to take the shot. In golf, it's the ultimate thinking sport.
It is.
You have all the time in the world to think.
Yeah.
And so it's a different muscle that I have to train there. And that, I guess that relates to life, doing things on a long-term scale. There's more times to think, more time to doubt, more time to fear, but you have to train that muscle in your mind to be courageous and to reframe things, knowing that there's a long-term path that you're working towards and that things don't happen in a month.
They don't. And that's a beautiful thing that we can learn at the age of 24, where it allows us to really enjoy a random Wednesday in February. And we can look forward to the small things where a great meal that you're able to eat after a hard days of work is super gratifying.
It's a relaxing episode of Entourage.
That's it. It's the best. I'll push you to watch the second one. 'Cause I
Wake
wanna
up
watch
and
right
then
here.
look at the water outside.
I always say this, and I truly believe it. Complex problems get solved by simple solutions. Just do simple things. Kyle is the most simple man you'll ever meet in your entire life. And that man can have the most complex problems, but he will frame it and he will go about it in the most simple way. That's it.
Because it just makes things easier. If you say you have a problem doing something, and then you're like, okay, I have a problem cooking, let's say. I'm gonna find the easiest way I could cook. I don't have to be Gordon Ramsay and get 100 ingredients and make a meal. I'm just gonna find the easiest way to cook. If I can do the easiest way to cook, I've now told my mind that I've solved that problem.
Done. Ground chicken, rice. Like,
Done.
done. Simple. I see I'm saying it simply. It's how simple it should be.
Exactly. So let's take this mindset point. Let's go into our last question here. I'm going to make this a two-part question, the good old who's the GOAT question. But part one, briefly give your reasoning on who you think's the GOAT. I think the viewers probably know by now who you think the GOAT is.
Yeah, if you don't know by now, I'm a
What your
resounding Michael Jordan is the GOAT guy. And we had a talk with Alex Salvino at dinner. He was the LeBron guy. And you hear their points and like, look, they're not saying things that you're like, yeah, that's false. Like, yeah, you just see that as greatness. You see, your impact of leaving a team
Yeah.
and them sucking means that you were that impactful there. That's not the alignment that we have when it comes to greatness. I think Jordan's the GOAT because of the ability to go through the hardships. He didn't win for like 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years. You know how old you're going to be in 7 years? 31. It's
Yeah.
a long freaking time.
It's crazy.
But he pursued, I guess technically 2 years from now, so you'd be like 29 in that sense. That's still a long time to just like constantly be working at a goal. And once he got there, process never changed.
You had to have the courage, you had to have the faith, the optimism,
The hope.
the media, they're saying you can't win in the playoffs. They're trying to put the fear narrative, the doubt narrative into his mind, and he had to stick with that faith and hope.
He was a psychopath. He was a killer. Everyone's like, oh, he's a gambler. He's a degenerate. Shut the fuck up.
Competitive.
Yeah.
I don't have gambling problem. I have competition problem.
Exactly my point. The Jordan LeBron debate, it can definitely become surface level and it can become draining. I know we talked about it at length with the guys at school, but the reality was, I believe in the way Jordan went about his career. I love the story. I love the narrative. You talk about Last Dance. I felt so inspired watching episodes 1 through 10 there. The Thrones of Breaking Bad, brother, Last Dance, right? Like, I don't care if it's a biased story from him. Like, the best stories ever. Watch The Miracle on Ice.
It's nonfiction.
Nonfiction.
That's the thing. It's not a story. It is a sequence of actual events.
Look, you can be portrayed in any way you want, but at the end of the day, we're not remembered by our numbers. We're remembered by what we achieved and what that made people feel. That's legacy. Sure. Go talk
Really
about
just what you made people feel.
That's it.
Through you can achieve, some like the Astros achieved winning rings, but they made people feel distrustful to the game.
Totally.
And that's what they're remembered for.
Their
Remembered for
dynasty.
that feeling. Yeah.
But with Jordan, I feel like it's more about, like, I don't look at his average points per game or how many MVPs he has. That's not what I look at. Some of the guys who support LeBron be like, most points ever, went to all these finals. I look at the way people describe Jordan. They talk about him like he's a walking god, like a real god.
Yeah.
You
This
did, like,
guy's unreal.
that is awesome. That's awesome. I want to get there, right? I want.
That's greatness.
There's nothing like going to play golf match like last week, and you are the dude. You can't miss. Guys seem he's like these guys are just the normal guys putting, but when he gets to the putting stroke, he's not gonna miss.
Everything was going in.
George,
And now, so part two of my question here is, you only have about 35 minutes per podcast, but you felt that this was an important question to ask. Why do you want to ask this question to these viewers? What do you want to see?
it was the ethos of our path. It was the foundation of it all. I was thinking about this actually today. Like you and I, we didn't meet each other right off the bat, and we were like, "Oh, what's up? We're best friends. Like this is it. Let's go create a business together." It
Yeah.
wasn't like that. There wasn't distaste. There was just like we were friends. Like I was friends with any of the other guys, or you were class. But it was the beginning point where there was this break, and it was really what decided mindset on, to set your mind. Like I could not digest what I can digest now in terms of mindset because I was a little bit immature. But sports were really easy for me to digest. And something like Jordan versus LeBron was the perfect example of what I needed to get on this path. We literally had one intern, Bowen, shout out Bowen, and we gave him one task. read meditations and also watch Last Dance. Like, sure, like that's a little bit of confirmation bias of how great it was, but like I know for a fact Bowen took away greatness and stoicism. And those are two things that you need as an entrepreneur in this world, as someone maneuvering their way through life. Jordan was an entrepreneur and he was able to achieve it. LeBron is great, but I fucking love the story. I will go to bat for it. I want that story of myself.
Yeah.
I wanted, when it's all said and done, people to talk about me in some way that was as impactful as Jordan was.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear anything else.
Yeah. Very interesting. So mindset first. You got to build that foundation first. You got to learn about your mindset and setting that up before just hopping into the path. And so I think this is a great question because it's fun. It's about sports, but you really get to see how people describe greatness, describe their mindset, describe their foundation.
I think that greatness is something. Timothy Chalamet had I know I've mentioned him a couple of times. He had a phenomenal speech, and it was like, I'm here to pursue greatness. Like I'm on that path. And that should be boasted. That should be lifted up. That should not be scrutinized.
Yeah.
That's what makes the world better.
Yeah. And that got him there. And I'm excited to see how that greatness unfolds for you.
And you.
Unfolds for us with Aditt and everything else in life. All the important things. Drew Ruchim, it's great having you on your own show. Thanks for letting me host you.
Of course. Thanks for hosting me. This was a pleasure.
Any announcements for the next episode?
No, but we'll be doing more of these for sure.
All right, good. I think they like that.
Yeah. All right, Cerny.
All right.
Good job.
Great work.
Thanks. This is way worse.
It's mine.
It's way worse. Mine's just not clear. Let's see if it'll get that. Smile.